Welcome back to the 10th Justin and Tyler Movie Awards for 2023. We've just talked about our best actors of 2023, and now we take a look at our best actresses of 2023. So we're going to do this the same way we did actors. I'm going to start things off, do my 3 honorable mentions. Tyler will do his 3 honorable mentions, and then we'll go back and forth on our number 3, number 2, and number 1. My honorable mentions for Best Actresses of 2023 go to Tina Fey in A Haunting in Venice, Greta Lee in Past Lives, and Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer.
Oh yeah.
So, Tina Fey in A Haunting in Venice, she plays a character by the name of Ariadne Oliver, who's a fledgling crime novelist. Yeah. And an associate of Hercule Poirot, who's, of course, played by Kenneth Branagh. And she's basically trying to get herself back into the limelight. And she wants to basically use Poirot's help to expose a medium as a fraud. And that will, writing articles about this and exposing this person as a fraud is kind of her way to get herself back into the public consciousness and the limelight and everything like that. Of course, there are some ulterior motives because it's a Hercule Poirot movie, but I thought Tina Fey was actually really a standout in what was a pretty good ensemble cast in that movie. But I thought her kind of supporting performance in that, I still thought it really stood out in a movie that I enjoyed more than I thought I was going to. So I quite enjoyed her, and I pegged her basically right from when I saw that movie that she was going to be probably in the honorable mentions on this. Greta Lee in Past Lives, I just recently watched Past Lives, so it's pretty fresh for me. She plays the Na Young or Nora Moon character. She's a Korean immigrant to New York. She's a writer, a playwright, and the whole crux of the movie is her coming back into contact with a childhood friend from South Korea, and a very subdued performance, and yet one that very aptly makes you feel everything that she feels. Even if she's not communicating verbally, it's a movie that's built on long, not even awkward stares, but just these long periods of these characters just kind of looking at each other, and the way that she conveys her emotions and conveys the story of these two people with her body language and her facial expressions. Because a lot of the movies in Korean, so you're doing that thing that some casual viewers hate, which is I used to hear this at Blockbuster all the time. I don't like reading my movies, right, in terms of subtitles. But you're doing a lot of that in this movie because you're reading subtitles for a language that you don't know. But she gets so much of that with her facial expressions and with her body language, and I just thought it was an excellent, subdued but excellent performance. And Emily Blunt plays Catherine Oppenheimer, J. Robert Oppenheimer's wife during the Manhattan Project. She's a biologist and she's a former communist, and it makes her role in the skepticism about Oppenheimer and Los Alamos, was it called, I think? The skepticism towards him and his political affiliations and what's actually going on at Los Alamos. That adds so much context to it, where she's basically kind of the primary point of contact for him with communism, and that's such it's a secondary part of the conversation, but really it's not, because it's all about like the arms race with the Russians, basically, and so like her, and I mean Emily Blunt is like I think I said it either last year or the year before. I think it might have been the year before. I think she's the most believable actress working today. Maybe the most believable performer, period, working today. And even though she's not a primary role in this movie, her performance makes her one. So that's why Emily Blunt's on the honorable mentions.
Fair enough. I mean, I love Tina Fey, but she'll probably never win anything on mine, but I still love seeing her. Emily Blunt, never gonna hate on an Emily Blunt choice, and I agree with your past lives assessment and her performance specifically. I don't know that I considered her seriously, but that's not a diss towards her.
No.
Or even the guy. Alright, so my honorable mentions are Florence Pugh, in A Good Person, though I know she had a small role in Oppenheimer as well, which is appreciated, but I'm not gonna bother counting it, I don't think. 2, Eliza Scanlon in The Starling Girl.
Oh yes.
And then my third one is Alison Brie for Somebody I Used to Know.
Oh, very good.
Florence Pugh, A Good Person, she's just wonderful. She did some singing and actually wrote a couple of the songs. At this point, this is just like Pugh stuff. Like, she just handles heavy, emotional stuff super well. I've become like a pretty big fan of her over the last bunch of years. Eliza Scanlon, she plays Jem, a really sweet girl looking for meaning, love, and freedom. It's tragic watching her try to live her life only to hit obstacle after obstacle. But she plays it expertly. Like, she's so sympathetic and wears the complexities of her characters in a subtle way that doesn't require her to like fall into hysterics.
Right.
To get the point across. Of course, that requires a lot of facial acting. There's a scene after what she has done with the pastor. Like Owen, what she's done with Pastor Owen comes to light, where she has to stand there in church as people come up to her and say, "I forgive you," and she looks so disgusted at what she has been made to do. And then when her boyfriend, who hurt her, comes up and says, "I forgive you," you can see the hurt creep onto her face. And I thought she looked familiar, so I had to look her up. She was in Baby Teeth, which wasn't a movie I loved, but I was like, yeah, that's where she's from. So okay. I think she might slowly build a good resume for herself. And Alison Brie. My celebrity crush in turn when it comes to looks, pretty much, or one of at least actresses.
Mm-hmm.
She played a showrunner dealing with her show getting canceled, and then she goes and visits her mom and comes into contact with an ex who she ended up leaving to pursue her career. She's just great in these types of roles. She's essentially trying to stop a wedding, but you still cheer for her. And I don't really know how a guy could turn her down. She's so beautiful, obviously.
Right.
But she's got this endless charm, even when she's being awkward, which really when I first came across her, it was in Community. And I remember even in Community thinking, this girl's so pretty, and yet, she's playing this, awkward character so well that, you believe that she could never get laid. Yeah, she just got this uncanny ability to be, just sexy and awkward at the same time. And she's kind of ascended for me over the last few years into an actual performer that I think is putting in some serious work. She was in Freelance as well, which I didn't include because, she was fine in it.
I thought she was in that.
Yeah, she's in it. It's not enough for me to be like, hey, body of work, right?
Right.
So she's just, I don't know, you stick her in a certain role, kind of like this. I don't know that I'd ever believe Brie in an action movie where she's the one kicking ass, because she really doesn't in Freelance. I think she might have a moment where she does something, but it's kind of, whatever.
Right.
So she's probably fairly limited in what she can do, I think. But put her in something like this, and you're going to get gold. And you did get gold.
My number 3 best actress of 2023 is Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers. So she plays Mary, the kitchen administrator.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Who is at this, this very strict New England boarding school, this Barton Academy, and her son has recently died over in Vietnam, because it's set in 1970, 1971, kind of around that area. Actually, literally right around that area, right around Christmas and New Year's. And she, I think, is the absolute standout of that movie. And you think that that's a movie with Paul Giamatti,
Right.
and yet she's the one that really stands out. She was in a movie last year that I wound up quite liking. She didn't really stand out in that movie last year, but in looking up her her listing on Critica, I was like, oh yeah, she was in that movie. She's actually really good in that. Here she's a standout, and here she does so much emotional heavy lifting.
Yeah.
That like her interactions with Giamatti and her interactions with everybody else. It's a 3-person universe kind of for a lot of the movie, but she has so much emotional heavy lifting to be done in the movie, and she brings so much of the sentimentality to that movie. It was just a bit of a breakout performance for me. So yeah, she's going to wind up being my number 3, Divine Joy Randolph in the Holdovers.
She's the heart of the movie.
Yep.
And did she get any recognition, like Golden Globes or anything?
Yes.
Did she?
She won something.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
My number 3 is my girl Jennifer Lawrence in No Hard Feelings.
Oh, okay. I like this.
I love Jennifer Lawrence. Like, anytime I see her, she's going to be in consideration. I snubbed her for Winter's Bone years ago, and I'm still hating
Still
myself.
paying for it.
I don't know what it was. I just I did give her awards for, I think, Hunger Games, and I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I think I put her in here. I don't know if she's won number 1 or not. She might have for Mockingjay or something like that. She's not number 1 here. She could have been. She's kind of just sassy and
Right.
and whatever, but it also shows that she can completely sell any role she wants. Like, she's kind of like what you said about Emily Blunt. Just being like that kind of performer. I think Jennifer Lawrence is that too, because she has done a lot of different stuff, and she's sold it completely. She's done the action. Which, like, people might notice over the years that I mention action a lot with women, because, like, it's harder for a woman to sell an action movie when she's beating up dudes. I'm sorry. It just is. It can be done, and has been done a lot.
Yeah.
So I spent, like, my whole Critica review for this movie talking about her. And it's not even that the movie's bad at all. I actually enjoyed the movie. And I thought like, yeah, this is a different pick. You know, who's going to give Jennifer Lawrence, like, a nomination or a win for No Hard Feelings of all. She was nominated for a Golden Globe.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, there you go, you got it right. But also you took my idea. So I guess it is a well-received performance, which is nice. I don't know that I rank it amongst her top 5, but then also a top 5 for her career, even as young as it is, really. Because it's not, I mean, I guess it's like 13 or 14 years now, I
Something
suppose.
like that.
But that's, like, fairly young, you know? It's not her top 5, but it's good enough to get on here, and I just love her.
Yeah.
Like, so much. So, yeah, Jennifer Lawrence for No Hard Feelings is my number 3.
Nice. I like that. My number 2, Best Actress for 2023 is Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon. So she plays Molly Kyle, who we kind of talked about earlier, a member of the Osage Nation, who has obviously a lot of money tied up in oil rights, mineral rights, everything like that. She marries she marries Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and he's like slowly poisoning her insulin. Like, that's how diabolical these people are. Like, they realize she has diabetes. They're like, oh, we have this insulin stuff that's gonna help make you feel better, and he's like, poison it. Just like, what? Anyway, her performance is like central to the whole movie.
Yeah.
As really more so than I think any other character in that movie, the story really centers around Molly. So, like, she's obviously getting a ton of praise on the awards circuit. Like, I think she's going to win a ton of stuff. It wouldn't shock me at all if she won the Oscar, because, again, it's not even just for the performance, but then also, of course, for the importance of the story, which we know with the big award shows means a lot. But her performance, I think, is certainly worthwhile of being mentioned with the top performances of the year. I thought it was obviously the second best female performance that I saw in 2023. So Lily Gladstone gets my number 2.
Yep, also the heart of the film.
Yeah.
All these girls are the heart of the film.
Like, so most of the tragedy that happens in that movie happens to her directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's not done in a, I didn't feel this way anyway. It wasn't done in a pandering way either.
No.
It was, all of that tragedy and the feelings that came off of it all felt like earned and genuine. So, and that's a credit to the performance.
Yeah,
as well.
a scene later on where she's like questioning Leo about like, did you do this to me? And he still won't admit to it.
like,
And you can look at her
no.
and it's just like, ooh.
Yeah.
You can see it. You can see her feelings. Yeah, that was a really good performance.
Like, she knows he's lying, but he's
Yeah.
also her husband. So there's, like, you can see that conflict with her.
That scene in general is pretty much like a good representation of why Leo and she both got on your... Because, like, if you just took that scene, it's like, yeah, look at that. They're both amazing in that scene.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good job. Good pick. My number 2 is Thomas and Mackenzie and Eileen.
Oh, there you
This
go.
was almost a final hour, because I didn't get to see this movie until, a week ago, or maybe not, probably about a week ago. And Thomas and Mackenzie gets on. Again. Something I was thinking about with her, because I didn't really even know much about this movie. I was just like, Anne Hathaway, who was also really deserving, honestly, in this movie. I just didn't want to represent the movie with 2 different actresses.
Right.
But she was really deserving too. But I just knew that it was Anne Hathaway and Thomas Mackenzie in like a psychological thriller. I was like, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm watching it, and she starts off as this chick that's just like really down bad. Like she wants to screw. Like she opening scene is her watching this like couple in a truck, and she like puts snow down her pants and stuff.
Okay.
And I'm like, she's so down bad. And then there's like a scene she works as like in a prison, and she's like watching this dude and imagining like him coming over and taking her. And so she's like so down bad. And I was watching, and I was like, Thomas and Mackenzie always plays these really sweet girls who are kind of not living a great life or whatever. And I'm like, when's her heel turn gonna come? Right here.
Right here.
This movie is when her heel turn came. Which was actually an excellent plot twist, but Anne Hathaway delivered the plot twist line so friggin' good. But then she becomes just this like really terrible person, like Thomas and Mackenzie does, and helps Anne Hathaway do something really terrible. And I'm like, she's even believable. She's believable as like this kind of psycho obsessed girl. And the thing is, she doesn't even say a ton in this movie. She mostly sits and listens. But Mackenzie has already basically perfected the art of facial storytelling. Even though she's quite young, she's already nailing it. So even in her body movements and her mannerisms, she can tell so much just from that. Like when the plot twist happens and she's like leaving the house, and she delivers this line where she's just like, "I thought you invited me here because you liked me," and it was like kind of heartbreaking. Even though what she does afterward is kind of like, oh. But yeah, it was nice to see the Mackenzie swerve, where she wasn't really the good guy anymore, And I mean, I've said that this girl has like moved up the ranks of favorite current actresses, and I expect that to continue. Not that I still think she might be. I think she's also one of those actresses who might be a little limited in what she can do. But then again, you never know, because like she has this natural sympathy to her because of her looks and her voice. Right? Like she has a very distinct voice that kind of helps her with the types of roles she's been playing, but then like to see her break that and like go against type was really fascinating. So Thomas and Mackenzie was one of the best performances of the year.
Nice. We finished our donuts just in time for me to do my number 1 Best Actress of 2023, and I think this is going to be an interesting one.
Good.
A little bit out of left field.
Good.
Not going to be overly expected. And it's for a body of work, which is only 2, but 2 counts as a body of work. My number 1 Best Actress of 2023 is Vanessa Kirby.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
So she plays the White Widow in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, which I believe is the third time she's played the White Widow. She's an arms dealer. I think it's the third time she's played that character in the Mission Impossible franchise, and she'll of course have one more whether it's still going to be Dead Reckoning Part 2 or it's going to be called something else, or there's some kind of weirdness about that, but she'll be in the final one there as well. And then she also plays Empress Josephine in Napoleon.
That's the other one.
So she's like really central to that movie, more so than I think a lot of people would expect in a movie that's titled Napoleon.
Yeah.
Like, if the movie was titled, like, Napoleon and Josephine, then you'd kind of get it. But she's, like, really central in that movie. And, of course, I mean, Josephine was obviously central in Napoleon's life. And she played a massive role in what the decisions that he was making and kind of what his personality became over time. Like, she plays a huge role in that. And it's two obviously very disparate, different performances. And she has to do a lot of the heavy lifting in Napoleon. And I mean, getting to play opposite somebody like Joaquin Phoenix is like, it's like okay, this is gonna be a good day at the office when I got this person to kind of play off of. And I just thought she did a fantastic job in both of these. Like, she's one of the most interesting characters to me in the Mission Impossible universe. Now, having seen her a few times, I'm like, I want to see more from this character. I want to know more about this character. I want her to be in more of these movies. And with the Josephine character as well, I just thought she played such a central role in that movie. And in a movie where you don't really get to, like in Napoleon I'm talking about, you're kind of kept at arm's length to the characters because Ridley Scott loves his big set pieces. Yeah. He's like, character development, what's that? You get closer to her as a character, I think, than even Napoleon. So I just thought she did really solid, good work this year, and she's my number one for a body of work.
I don't have much to add. I didn't see Napoleon. Really had no interest in it. Didn't even know she was in it, to be honest. But I will say this. I don't know if it was a rumor or a fan casting. I feel like it was a rumor. Or maybe they confirmed. No, I don't think they confirmed it. That Vanessa Kirby might be tapped to play the Invisible Woman in the Fantastic Four movie. And I really desperately want that to happen. I didn't know I wanted that to happen until I saw, I think, a rumor. And I was like, yeah, I'll see a movie with just because she's in it. Yeah. Not that I think she's like amongst my favorite actresses, but yeah, she's always really good. But since I only saw Mission Impossible, that wasn't enough to even consider her. I thought she was in another movie this year, but maybe that's...
Last year she was in something where she got a lot of buzz last year, but now the title
maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Well, that's a good pick. So for my number one, if you know me, you're going to know just how off the board this one is. Emily Blunt.
Yes.
In Pain Hustlers. But also Oppenheimer, which Oppenheimer would have been enough, if I'm being honest with myself, to at the very least consider her for top 3, but maybe an honorable mention just because she wasn't the focus.
Right.
Like, she didn't have as much screen time. But it probably would have got her in the honorable mentions, so we would have had like a sort of consensus there. Mm. But Pain Hustlers, because she is the main character, and she really gets to flex. Again, not that I think it's like her best performance ever, but she is trying so damn hard to make this material work. Yeah. And she is pretty much the reason why it does to some degree. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I just feel like I'm saying this. She's just a master of everything. I probably agree that she's the most believable performer, at the very least, of the women. But I don't know what she can't sell. Like, even in Oppenheimer, there's a part where she just, like, it seems like she's out of her element later on during, like, not the interview, but, when she's getting grilled. Yeah. And there's just this part where she just switches. Yeah. And you probably know the one I'm talking about, where she seems so out of her element, but then she just, like, boom, and I'm like...
she completely takes Jason Clarke's lunch money.
Yeah.
Like she completely flips the entire tone of the interview.
Right.
All and turns it all around on him. I know exactly the part that you're talking about, and it's her best scene in the movie.
Yeah, easily. So when Pain Hustlers, like, even though she's ultimately ends up being part of something bad, she starts a little wild, which is fun, and then she plays up being a successful big pharma chick. But then by the end of it, there's real sincerity in what she does. And you care. Like, you're like, oh, this person sucks. And then it's like, oh, now I care. Like, why are you making me so confused? I just want to throw, like, a little tidbit. Because, like, I leave notes to myself, too, during the year of, like, I'll put, like, the performance and I'll be, like, chances of winning. Where I'll usually be like, this is a serious chance for, like, top 3 or whatever. And I don't always follow that, but it gives me a good indication of how I felt at the time. Because if I see a movie in January or something, by the next January when we do this, it's probably not really in my head as much, right?
Right.
This is what I wrote for Emily Blunt. The problem I fall into is I love her so much that I'm almost harder on her. So don't do that here. Remember that she is really, in caps, good. Even if you don't feel like it's an exciting pick.
Right. So that's
an insight into my conversation with myself. Remember, Tyler, that she is very good. And it's not just your love for her. So, like, this was kind of the thing where I'm not sure any of my picks are that exciting. Because it's just been, like, my girls, like 2 of my girls that have been there really well. Emily Blunt and Jennifer Lawrence are both like movie award like darlings for me, right? Because I became a fan of both of them during the movie awards era. And then, technically Thomas and Mackenzie too, though she's not on their level and probably will never be on their level. But like Alison Brie was the same thing. Like this, a lot of these have been like the actresses were like my last like off the board picks, I think. But maybe you disagree. But it's like the usual suspects. So I hope that was entertaining, but like Emily Blunt, number 1. Again.
That makes sense. Again.
And she will be in the future years, and she's going to be a Hall of Famer.
100%. I'm shocked she's not in there already.
We're going to have a talk, which is probably this coming year. I'm guessing. I think she has to be.
I think
like,
so.
Villeneuve's already in there. Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix is already in there, right? So... Emily Blunt, your time's coming.
She's the big omission at this point. There you have it, folks. Emily Blunt and Vanessa Kirby, our number 1 best actresses of 2023. We've got one more People Awards video for you, our best directors of 2023, and that's coming right up.